All right. Thanks all for coming today. There's a few housekeeping matters I want to address, and then we're going to talk about some specifics of things that you might be interested in more than others. As previously stated, all 30 cases against the Houston Texans have been settled. The amount and terms of those settlements are confidential. The settlements have now been papered. The one case that was formally filed against the Houston Texans will shortly be dismissed. There will not be any others filed, at least from this law firm. The Texans organization and their counsel handled this matter in a professional way. My hope is that all organizations will be much more attuned to the possibility of this situation or similar situations going forward. I think it's important to note that as part of that settlement, the NFL did not participate. They are not part of that release. Also, as previously stated, all cases with the exception of one brought against Deshaun Watson have now been settled. Those cases also will be dismissed as soon as the paperwork is signed and soon as the settlements are funded. The terms of those settlements and the amounts paid are confidential. As you know, all of these cases were consolidated into one court. The pretrial proceedings for all the cases were managed by one court. We had multiple hearings. In many cases, those hearings were contentious. We sought information from non-parties and at times had to have hearings arising from those requests. Throughout it all, the court handled things quickly and efficiently and professionally. And so on behalf of our clients, we want to applaud the court and its staff for that. A case like this takes a lot of resources to bring, not only personnel but also financial. There were thousands of pages of documents that were exchanged, each of which had to be carefully reviewed. There were more than 100 witnesses who were questioned. There were 30 formal depositions taken, with each witness placed under oath, videotaped, and their testimony transcribed. In all, our law firm spent more than $250,000 on this case. And you can see how hard it is to pursue a case like this, to bring a case like this. It takes resources. You can probably tell and conclude that for a case like this, for most firms, it would be cost prohibitive. This has been a long road. After all cases filed are formally dismissed, that will leave one case remaining. The allegations made in that one remaining case are strikingly similar to those made by the other women who brought suit. She is a licensed massage therapist. Deshaun Watson allegedly found her on Instagram. They had one session. The detailed facts in her filed petition speak for themselves. I will say that she was one of the first to speak out and one of the first to file suit. She was interviewed at length by the NFL. She also spoke at length to the police and would have appeared and would have given testimony to the grand jury had our elected local DA allowed her to do so. The DA of this county, who was supposed to speak for the people, as you know, only presented one woman, Ashley Solis, in front of the grand jury. And I guess we'll never know why. But that brings us to why we are here. I want to take you back to December of 2019. Cornelia and Crystal tell me it was December 10th of 2019 when we received a call at this office from Ashley Solis. We learned later that several months before that, Ashley had actually spoken to another lawyer that we do business with who ultimately referred her case to us. And that's how we get most of our cases. We get them by referral. We don't do any advertisement. And I've said before, I was initially reluctant to take Ashley's case. It wasn't because I didn't believe her. It wasn't because I didn't think she had a strong case. It was because I've done cases like this before, and I know firsthand how nasty people can be. I know when you sue a high-profile person making such allegations, these cases can get very ugly. I explained to Ashley how much scrutiny she would be subjected to. I told her how nasty and vile people can be. People can be really brave behind a keyboard. I guess they think their ill-informed vitriol has no impact, but it does. This case has placed front and center the conspiracy theorists, sitting in their parents' basements, making up stories and ignoring the truth that stares them directly in their face as they spew their hate. Some of the comments they made about Ashley and the other women in this case would be laughable if they weren't so painful. Laughable if they weren't so painful. Painful not only to people like Ashley Solis, who had the courage to stand up, but also victims of sexual assault everywhere. I'm reminded, though, there is a reason for the word fan. Think about the word fan. It's short for fanatics. And we have certainly seen that side of people throughout this entire process. Ashley Solis persisted. She was undeterred. I promised her at the least I would try to resolve the issue privately. I was hoping I could shield her from what I knew would likely be vitriol. My attempts to resolve this issue quietly but fairly have actually been used against her, as if she was looking for some kind of payoff, which was not what she was looking for. Every day across this country, legal disputes are resolved confidentially. If that weren't the case, the entire legal system would grind to a halt. But my efforts to resolve her case confidentially and quietly were stiff-armed. They were rebuffed. In fact, after some correspondence, I was told that their asset had done nothing wrong. That's what I was told. That was an eye-opening statement. I can tell you at that point I was pissed. The U.S. Marine in me would not be denied at that point. We had no other option but to file suit, and that suit, of course, became public. And I had expected more women would come forward. Of course, they did. I was surprised. I think we all were surprised by the number of women who stepped forward. But throughout this all, Ashley Solis has been there, resolute. At some point, we thought it appropriate that a public face be put to this litigation. Ashley stepped forward. Her bravery and courage are incredible. She was the first to file suit. She was the first to speak out. She was the first to stand in front of a camera and tell about her experience. She was the first to put her name and face to this litigation. She is a strong woman. She's been an example to others. I can tell you that our team could not be more proud to represent her, and I can tell you that every person in our firm admires you, Ashley. Throughout these cases, we have been asked to weigh in on parallel proceedings. We've tried to be consistent and clear that the civil cases stand on their own. The standards are different. The players are different. But when pressed, we have made it clear that we believe the elected DA failed these women. It was frustrating, but it was expected. There are more than 463,000 incidents of sexual assault in the United States each year. Only about 70% of those let me try to get that right. 70% of those are never reported to the police. Less than 1% of those ever lead to a conviction. And we all know about the tweet that was sent out after the no bill from a so-called insider, not somebody that's ever spoken to me. There's a more of an insider, I don't know who it is other than me, but this is the kind of reaction we received. And these kind of tweets, this kind of foolishness, is exactly why people do not pursue justice. We've also been asked about the NFL's proceedings. We again have tried to make clear that our efforts in the civil cases stand alone. We have never, up to this point, never tried to influence that process. But we aren't blind. It is a given that the NFL's disciplinary process is a juggled mess. It has been so inconsistent in the past that it's hard to take it seriously. And worse yet, everyone knows that the NFL's record on women's issues is sketchy and sad. At best, it could be described as inconsistently dismal. Nevertheless, our clients believed that with a new process in place, with new people involved, things might be different. Unfortunately, we were wrong. From the very beginning, we have been open and cooperative with the NFL. At the NFL's request, we made our clients available. We spent hour upon hour in these interviews. From the beginning, one of the first questions asked by the NFL investigators of our clients was, "What were you wearing?" That gave us a lot of pause. Some of the interviews spent most of the time on a deep dive of the victim and little to no questions about the conduct that was being alleged. In some cases, it was our view that when the questioners weren't being aggressive and hostile, they really weren't that interested in what was being said or what had actually happened. Many of our clients left those interviews thinking that they had not been heard. I tried to explain to them the dynamic. The NFL's process is set up this way by design. You have an entity investigating one of its own, investigating itself, collecting information to put in front of someone appointed by itself, and then that same entity serves as a decider of any appeal. Nevertheless, despite this process, we made 10 women, not 12. If you read Sue Robinson's or Judge Robinson's opinion, we made 10 women available to the NFL. We would have made more available, but the NFL wasn't really interested in talking to them. In fact, in lieu of interviews, we even attempted to submit sworn statements. The NFL rejected those submissions. You should also know that none of my clients were asked to testify at the 3-day hearing and did not testify at the 3-day hearing. In fact, none of us, including my clients, were even informed of the hearing. We had to read about it in the newspaper, and we had to read about the result of it. We don't know what was actually presented. We don't know how the presentation was made. All we know is that none of the people that our firm represents were involved in that process in any way. I have no explanation why the NFL only spoke to 10 of my clients and only presented 4 of those 10. It really makes you want to scratch your head and wonder what the devil is going on. We can't and will not comment on the settlement with the Texans or Watson himself. We have nothing to say about the behavior that led us here. We can, however, comment on the NFL and the way it has bungled this matter. We never expected much from the NFL's investigation. We never expected much from their flawed process. But you know, even when you know you're going to be slapped in the face, that slap still hurts and it still stings. When we received the results of the NFL's process, the more than year-long process that I would suggest that you could have been done in 30 days, I asked each of the clients to weigh in. I tried to talk to each one to say, what are your thoughts on what happened? I'm just going to read to you a few things that was said to me. 6 games isn't even a slap on the wrist. It's a kiss on the cheek. They did not really investigate because they did not care. They investigated, to the extent you call it that, to save face. They don't care if women or people are abused. One of the women said, "This slap on the wrist for him is a slap on the face to us." Another said, "It's been made clear to me. The NFL, with regard to myself, my family, and all these women and our children, do not matter. We do not matter to the NFL." One of the women said, "This decision makes me feel defeated." She said, "When I was interviewed with the NFL, it felt more like an interrogation, asking me the same questions over and over, hoping that I would fumble the story about what I experienced so they could claim what I was saying was untrue. They didn't seem interested in the truth, and it's incredibly disheartening." Another woman said, "All they wanted to do was sanitize the situation and normalize the behavior." Another woman said, "I'm disgusted and heartbroken. It's like we don't even matter. I feel like we're invisible." I don't think anybody can say it better than Ashley Solis. So I'm going to give her the podium, and she has prepared a statement that she wants to make. And I'm going to be very proud to stand by her when she does so.
Hello. These past 2.5 years for me have been a very trying time. The whole situation has been emotionally and mentally taxing. I've received multiple death threats, had angry people approach me in public, and I've had hundreds, if not thousands, of people say terrible and vile things about me on the internet. In the beginning, this type of conduct really hurt me. Then as time went by, I became numb to it. There then came a time where I looked at myself in the mirror and I had no idea who I was looking at. People kept telling me I should be proud of speaking up and that what I was doing was the right thing. Even so, it was just really hard, nearly impossible for me to feel good about myself. It was like this for a very long time, unfortunately. I no longer was doing the things that brought me joy, and I fell into a deep depression. Then, one at a time, I started receiving letters and mail and emails from random people all over the country about how they supported me, they believed me, and have been inspired by me. If you are any of these people, and if you are watching now, I am so grateful for you. These statements of support help me remember who I am, who I was, and why I decided to put myself in the public eye and make myself as vulnerable as I've ever felt in my entire life. I'm here today and have been here for all the little girls, women, and humans in general who have ever felt that they didn't have the power to speak up. You do have that power, and you should. I'm here today to express my thoughts about the NFL and its proceedings. What do the actions of the NFL say to little girls who have suffered at the hands of someone perceived to have power? That it's not a big deal? That they don't care? Tough shit? That's what I've taken from their actions. So instead, I'll let my actions say something different to those same little girls. No matter how scary, big, or powerful someone may seem, they are just humans. And like all humans, we all have the right to have our voices heard. So when I step back and look at things for what they are, I recognize that it's hurt people who hurt people. I recognize that the people who I decided to speak out against are just human. And I'm no longer scared of them. I no longer fear that power because I understand and I realize I have even more power. I'm backed by my community, my family, and my ancestors. And that's what keeps me going forward. So if anyone has ever tried to abuse their status and overpower you, remind them that they picked the wrong one to try that with. That's exactly what I am, the wrong one. And I'll keep showing my face and keep speaking up for as long as I can. You should be a wrong one too, and speak up. Thank you.
Ashley wrote that, and when I read it, I was totally blown away. Now, finally, we say this. We are here today with a message to the NFL. That message is simple and hopefully clear. Every victim of sexual assault is watching Robert Goodell and the NFL right now. And this idea that Mr. Goodell is going to hand it off to someone else independent, we don't buy it. Mr. Goodell, what will you do? It's never too late to do the right thing. And that's what these women and those watching are expecting. Thanks much.